Hello, hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Relationships Rule. My guest today has spent over 30 years helping people understand that relationships do not just happen, they're built intentionally with courage, clarity, and a willingness to show up fully. Joëlle Lydon is a certified relationship coach and author of Unbreakable Us, Removing the Barriers to Love. And she is also the creator of the 7-step Relational Growth Pathway. Her work blends neuroscience, expressive arts, and real-world communication skills to help people break old patterns and build something that actually lasts. Today, we're going to be talking about what all of this means for the relationships that drive your business with your clients, your colleagues, your partners, and yourself. And it's probably hard to do it without talking about personal relationships as well. So I'm sure that will come into the mix as well. So welcome to the show, Joëlle.
Well, thank you for having me, Janice. Really glad to be here.
It's my pleasure. And I was just, as I do in some of my research, I can't remember where I saw this, whether it was on your, I think it was at the end of your email signature, actually. And I just want to read it and just have you comment on it because I thought it was beautiful. My mission is to reimagine relationship from an unconscious pattern we repeat to a conscious partnership we create, where ease, trust, and peace are not goals to strive for, but natural outcomes of how we show up for one another. I invite you into the relationship that's waiting for you. I thought that was really beautiful. And would you speak to that for me?
Years ago, I heard this quote by Carl Jung.
Mm-hmm.
Oh gosh, I love it when I go on the spot and go blank. Does that happen to you? So here we go. We have one of those moments, but it'll come. So it might be a little bit rocky at first, but I'll figure out the quote. When we make the unconscious conscious, no. Oh gosh, it dictates your life. So it's this whole idea that whatever remains unconscious in our mind continues to create problems for us in our lives, right? So until we make the unconscious conscious,
Okay,
it will dictate your life.
that makes sense.
And so that's kind of been the frame that I've approached my relationship work with. And recognizing that the work is in creating consciousness around the way we think about being in relationship with one another. In particular, the storylines that that have us behaving in ways that actually don't match our values, and do not meet the present need. So it's really based on a conscious creation of something that's going to actually meet our present need in a sort of adulting kind of way. So that quote, that sort of mission is derived from our ability and my trust in the creative nature of humans.
So in essence, though, and this isn't where I was planning to start, but I just saw this in your email this morning and I thought it would be kind of fun to talk about. So in essence, so when it says to reimagine a relationship from an unconscious pattern we repeat to a conscious partnership we create. So that made me think just now when you were saying that of you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Like the older we get, the more set in our ways we become and the set patterns that continue. And is that correct?
The adage is no longer holds.
Okay.
Based on neuroscience, based on brain research, our brain is malleable, adaptable, elastic until the day we die.
Fantastic. So
with that in mind, right? Like no pun intended, but with that recognition that, wow, if I've been experiencing these difficulties in my relationship, be it personal, be it professional, And I might be at cause for the way these things have panned out.
Mm-hmm.
If I now trust in the science of this adaptability, elasticity, malleability, then that means that I can now be at cause for a different outcome.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's really what I'm speaking to.
That's pretty cool though, because I mean, I hear a lot of people my age saying things like that. I've always done it this way. I can't change now. And because they don't stay abreast of way things are, and they really believe that still, but it's not necessarily true, right? If they're pushed or if they're interested in finding out more about how that doesn't have to be, they don't have to be stuck in their ways. It's very, very interesting, actually. I like that.
Yeah, well, the kind of work that I do really brings to light some of those um, beliefs, right?
Yes.
Because we're talking about very firm,
Oh, yeah.
this is my agreement on how I operate in life.
Yes.
And what I do is like we stick a spotlight on those agreements
Yeah.
and those stories, and we just say, like, but really, is it true?
Yeah.
Is it actually serving you? Is it really providing for you the outcomes and the results that you're looking for? Because if the answer is no, then right. Well, great that you have awareness about this now.
Yeah.
And so if the answer is no, then what are the practices? What are the things that we need to put into place? The core, consistent core practices that we need to put into place to change that framework, that mindset into something that actually serves that person now.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay, so your work is rooted in personal relationships, and you've said that the relationship skills are transferable. So, when you are in the business world, when you look at the business world, what do you see people getting consistently wrong in how they relate to each other?
Assumptions,
Okay, making assumptions.
making
Yeah.
assumptions, right? So there are a number of things. I would say that there is going back to the story and the beliefs piece is that there's a projection of one's own belief system on somebody else.
Hmm.
And so with that come the assumptions that there are going to be certain results based on that, as opposed to creating curiosity um, and have positioning oneself in a state of mind and thought that makes the assumption of positive intent.
Hmm. That's completely
So
different.
that instead of assuming that things are going to pan out a certain way just because historically it always has,
Yeah.
going in there with more of a, right, this person's coming to this conversation with positive intent. I'm coming to this conversation, this interaction with positive intent. That is the orientation I'm going to assume.
Mm.
And when I assume that orientation, things actually go way better.
Sure. Makes sense. Yeah, that's good. So your framework starts with grow down, building emotional steadiness and self-trust. That's not language most business people use. So what does that actually look like in a professional context, and why does it matter?
So growing down, I use more of a natural, like I use nature in some of the imagery in my book. Growing down is deepening our roots.
Hmm.
It's about emotional readiness. It's about deepening self awareness. It's about emotional grounding. So I don't know what the language is that is used in different environments. That is the language that I use, and that's actually the first step that I take with all of my clients,
Hmm.
because no relationship can grow unless there is a nervous system and energy management in place to be able to handle those moments when we are activated so that we can then approach those situations and interactions honoring our value system as opposed to kicking into a reaction
Yeah.
that actually is contrary to our values. And then we have to do the repair work,
Yes.
backtracking,
Yeah.
repair work, and then go through that whole litany of shame, guilt. Oh my gosh, I don't believe I did. So the growing down piece in the three sort of stages of relationship growth that I do, that first stage of growing down is essential to growing solid and systemic roots for your nervous system, your emotional mindset, and regulation, so that when activated, you stand a higher chance of being able to lead in that situation because you are the most regulated in the situation.
Yeah. So
And
your roots are strong. Yeah.
right. When your roots are strong, you can do that. So like as I say to my clients, I'm like, the most resourced one leads.
The most
Resourced
resourced one
one
leads.
leads.
Um, even if they're not the leader in this situation, so to speak. Yeah.
Yes,
Yes. Yes.
absolutely. Because
Yes.
if you're dealing with someone who's dysregulated, angry, frustrated,
Yes.
they
Yes.
have all their like whatever, you
Yep.
see my hands, that energy, right?
Yes.
And you're like calm.
Yes.
You can see their foolishness and
Yeah.
nonsense, and you can see beyond the foolishness and nonsense to see the clear path forward.
Hmm.
So whether you're the leader
Yeah.
in like title or not, if you are regulated, you lead
Yes. That's
because the
beautiful.
other person does not have the capacity to lead in that particular moment.
So that kind of person that you just described, the dysregulated one, the one uh, um, who reacts at the drop of a hat, and when things don't go their way, or when they feel like they're out of control with the group that they're trying to lead, are they the people that do they, generally speaking, I'm thinking that they don't see it in themselves, that it takes something major to make them realize that they're messing up and it's not helping them, or they get sick, right? Or they get a heart attack, or the stress is too much for them. Um, are those the people that come to you, or are they more the ones who know they need help, but they're not as out of control as that person I just described?
So the person who's like fully
Yeah.
dysregulated is most likely so swamped in their dysregulation,
Yeah.
they cannot see straight.
Yeah.
So dysregulation has us get really laser focused, but not in you basically miss a lot of information
Yeah.
because you click into a survival state
Yes. Okay.
physiologically. Those people, until they find a breath, recognize that they might be at cause for creating the
Yeah.
dysregulation. So, from the work that I do, there is this very key teaching around personal and energetic responsibility.
Mm.
Part of the growing down process is taking responsibility for your physical, your emotional, your spiritual, your mental state. And so typically the people who will locate me have been breathing for a little bit, but have done some introspection, are recognizing that they're stuck. They don't know how to change the pattern. They don't know how to like click out of it. They keep looping into it, right? But they're you're like, okay, my head's out of the water for just a moment. Can you show me a path forward? Right.
Yes.
So that's typically who will tend to, at the stage at which they will tend to reach out to me.
That the basic ABCs of that to me seems to be that we have to work on ourselves first before we can do anything anywhere
Correct.
else,
That is
right?
exactly what growing down is.
Right. Okay.
Because you can't, I mean, you can't really, you have to create the practices. Yeah, to create the practices necessary to stay regulated more often than not.
Mm-hmm.
And when you get dysregulated, be able to recoup faster, because that's what happens when you have a consistent core practice. It's not that you never get dysregulated. That is like the myth of arrival. It's just never going to happen. We're in a human body with a nervous system. It's going to happen. But what will happen is if you're in the process, if you have a consistent core practice of nervous system and mindset regulation, when you do get dysregulated, the recovery is faster. So whereas maybe you got taken out for like a month, 3 months, a year, right? Now it gets brought down to an hour, 2 minutes, 30 seconds,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Beautiful.
So that's the view. That's a big distinction.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about boundaries, because I notice it comes up a lot in your content. In your in business, boundaries can feel uncomfortable, like you're being difficult or you're closing doors. So what would you say to someone who struggles to hold them without guilt?
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad I just posted something there today.
Oh, perfect.
Just about that. So this is Boundaries Month, people. I've been talking all about boundaries. So you can find all of that on social media. So that is the work. Boundaries are not about other people. Ultimatums are about other people, but boundaries are about yourself.
Okay.
Boundaries are a level of clarity of what you are willing and not willing to do, regardless of somebody else's reaction to
Mm.
that level of clarity. The difficulty, which is what you're speaking to, Janice, is like stating the clarity of the boundary
Mm-hmm.
and then doing what I like to call the real work of holding it
Right.
versus backtracking, going back to so that the dynamic that was there before, because people who don't honor boundaries are usually benefiting from the situation. So rather than backtracking or needing to actually pad the boundary with all the excuses and the reasons why the boundaries like is being asked for example, like instead of like, no, that's not possible for me to do because X, Y, Z, la, la, but needing to go into explanation and justification and all of that, right? Those are ways that people deal with the discomfort of actually holding the boundary. But the real work is the emotional growth and the discomfort resilience that occurs when you just stand by it without explanation, without justification, without backtracking. And that requires, again, I've used this term a number of times, like consistent core practices that allow you to stay with it, even through the discomfort.
I know I've been talking about that with a counselor lately, another friend of mine, and I think that's a struggle a lot of us have, that including myself, that sometimes I don't hold my boundaries because I don't feel strong enough with a certain person to not push them away. I think I'm pushing them away when actually I'm probably making it worse in that situation. I can't think of an example at the moment, but yeah, I don't want to.
Boundary disrupts the status quo.
Yeah, it does. When somebody
And
stands up
so,
to you and yeah.
right. So it disrupts the status quo and that creates discomfort on both sides, right? Because there's been a dance that's been agreed to unconsciously, consciously,
Yeah.
but that's been danced. And then all of a sudden you're like, tango, not so much. Cha cha cha, maybe. right? And you're like, but this one wants to tango. And you're like, no, cha-cha-cha, baby.
Yeah.
And then you're like, but I don't want to cha-cha-cha. I want to tango. And then you're like, okay, whatever. We'll just tango again.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what happens
Yeah.
very often, because holding the desire to cha-cha-cha takes courage.
Yeah. It does, because you're going to get a different result.
But it also takes follow through,
Mm-hmm.
because the tangoer will say, like, yeah, you don't really want to dance cha-cha-cha.
Yeah, that's good.
Right. There'll be some testing of the boundary.
Yes.
And you're like, no, cha-cha-cha is it, baby.
Yeah. Interesting. So you work a lot with nonverbal communication, I think, and what you call embodied wisdom. In a world of Zoom calls and text messages, how much are we losing by not being physically present with the people we do business with, in your opinion?
There is nothing like seeing, touching, smelling another human being. We're animals.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
We need that. I mean, we don't want to think of ourselves as animals, but we are animals.
I mean, it is different when you're in a room full of people. There's no question.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's such a huge difference. I mean, those conversations that are had at the water cooler, just like those impromptu. So there's a loss of a number of things. The use of eye contact,
Mm-hmm.
friction. I'm going to call it friction. As humans in relationship with each other, we're meant to experience friction.
Mm.
Friction is not a bad thing. It allows us to to assess where we are in space with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Some of that is lost here, because it's like, here's the agenda. This is what we're doing first. This is what we're doing second. So there's a level of certainty and predictability that happens virtually, where uncertainty and our ability to deal with uncertainty gets lost, and therefore our practice with it gets atrophied. And so when we are in relationship with other people on our day-to-day, and things go, let's say they go tits up, right? And as they will, because that's what happens, we're human.
Yeah.
We have less capacity to know how to address it, because we are unskilled in our ability to deal with uncertainty.
Well, that's actually interesting to me, because depending on our age and our history of all of this and what went on for 2-3 years, I think that affects how we deal with these things too. Because for some of us, my sister, actually, we just talked this morning, she still has issues going into places she's not comfortable, like a parking lot that freaked her out today because she couldn't find her way out, and she hadn't gone there before, and the anxiety was just too much. She wasn't like that before COVID. She, having been 3 years in her house, it's taken her a while to get out. Some people didn't get affected the same way. My granddaughter was born in the COVID era in 2019, actually. For the first 3 years of her life, she didn't see other people except our family. And I think that's affecting her, and so some of us bounce back more easily. Some of us don't want to. I think it changed the way I look at things, as for sure, because I was the biggest networker out there in person all the time. Now I'm not so much. I'll still do it on occasion if I really want to go to the event, but it doesn't feel the same. Um, I'm not as, I don't know if the word's comfortable, but as it's not as necessary for me, I feel, anymore, although it probably is based on what you're saying. So,
Well, I would say that I mean, when you're talking about business, there's age and discernment, right?
yeah.
Flip limited amount of time and energy. So like, where is my energy and my time best spent? Right. So there's that particular conversation, which I think is coming into this, what you're sharing here, Janice. But I think you're also speaking to this place, this transitional historical moment that has changed our ability to tolerate difference, tolerate discomfort, tolerate the unknown.
Mm-hmm.
When we as a species are wired for all kinds of unknown circumstances, right? Like way back in the early times of humanity, we had to deal with a lot of it, right? We didn't know when we turned the corner if we were going to get eaten alive. We wouldn't know whether today was the only day that was the gift that was given to us, right? Like basically we assumed today was the day, the only day that we can be guaranteed, because we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, right? And so living with that as a way of operating in the world made it possible for us to be really resilient. And so that skill of resilience, which means leaning into discomfort, is what builds resilience, is the skill that has been lost. And this it gets lost in communications with people, it gets lost in the virtual world, it gets lost with the dating apps, it gets lost with AI, there's a lot of information that is getting lost. Body language, eye contact.
Friction.
There are these like you go to a cocktail party, you may never talk to a person, but you'll sense, ooh, they're in a bad place, or they're like, wow, they're so happy, but you can't necessarily like track exactly why. Maybe you're seeing them like very very alive with their hands, or maybe they're hunched over, but we miss a lot of that through these kinds of, and so therefore our ability to connect and be intimate with one another is greatly reduced.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And yet we crave it.
I was just going to
crave intimacy.
Yeah, I agree. So it's funny because my next question, you just mentioned the topic of AI, and we spoke a little bit about it when we first spoke, um, about people forming emotional connections with AI. And from your perspective as a relationship coach, what does that trend tell us about what people are actually hungry for? And I think you just touched on it just now. We're craving really connection. We're craving.
Well, there's connection and certainty.
Okay.
AI provides certainty.
Because it doesn't answer us back, or what? Because
exactly, right.
Okay.
It's basically it creates responses we want to hear.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
So it's a loop
Yes.
that has us hearing ourselves back, so we feel seen, heard, understood.
Yes.
When that is not actually true.
Right.
Right. So yes, people are craving intimacy, but the vehicle of AI is just that, a vehicle. The intimacy cannot be had. It can feel like it's intimacy.
Yeah.
But the intimacy is truly created with just another person.
It's interesting because I just listened to Oprah interviewing the brother and sister that are the main owners of Anthropic, the company that has Claude. And one of the things they were talking about, it was a really interesting interview. And one of the things they were talking about is how, unlike, I think, most of, if not all of the other AI tools, they do not allow people under the age of 18 to have accounts on their program. And I don't know how they prove it, or they did talk about it, but I can't remember right now. But just like, how there's research to prove, cell phones and all this, being on your iPad too much when you're a kid, and all of those things has some detriment. I think this piece of attachment around with AI is very dangerous and can be, and especially when you're lonely or sad or, too young to understand the difference. So I really found that interesting when I was listening to it.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
You want to be able to hear your own voice,
Yeah,
your
exactly.
internal voice,
Mm-hmm.
wise, loving, caring to the degree that it can be given your upbringing, right?
Yeah.
But that builds self-trust. If the moment you're at a very formative stage in your life, you begin to rely on something else to guide, to direct, to place your attention upon, self-trust, I used this word before, atrophies.
Mm-hmm.
And people then don't trust themselves, don't trust each other,
Mm-hmm.
and we become really polarized. So it makes complete sense from my viewpoint that that those tools be held
Mm-hmm.
at bay
Mm-hmm.
until a young person has developed enough,
Mm-hmm.
even though they're not fully developed, like their frontal lobe is
Yeah.
not fully developed
Right.
until they're 20, they're
Yeah.
well, way into their 20s, but they stand a fighting chance to even begin to trust themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Like to know, well, oh, I got this hit, like maybe I shouldn't go in that room and not do it.
Right.
Instead of like, oh, maybe I shouldn't go in that room. AI, should I go in that room?
Yeah.
Right? Instead of just trusting I shouldn't go into that room.
Yeah. Get your first intuition in your gut and telling you, listen to it.
Right.
So in your book, Unbreakable Us, you talk about old patterns that protect us in one season of life, but limit us in the next, which we were talking about a little bit. Can you give me an example of how that plays out in business relationships with a client, with a partner, with a colleague, with a friend?
Yeah. We develop protective mechanisms as children to keep us safe. And in particular, for those of us who grow up in chaotic and unsafe homes.
Mm,
And those skills, though, really had utility and usefulness as to protect us as children, actually backfire as adults. I refer to this in the book as your internal operating system.
mm,
The stories, the beliefs that you hold, the agreements that you hold to be the way one operates in life. What happens is that when we are adults operating from an antiquated internal operating system, is that it can have us react in situations that don't, in a way that actually do not match our value system.
because we've outgrown them maybe,
Well,
or we don't
because they're
realize
just
it.
reactive.
Okay.
They're reactive and they're actually not useful in a situation. This is where we're completely dysregulated or like slightly dysregulated. We may say something that is inappropriate. We may react in a way that does not really is not generative for the situation. As a leader, it could be like it's a reaction that is actually not in the greatest service and the greatest good of the team as a whole, as the organization as a whole, because it's placing the leader as like, this is my agenda, not the mission, not the vision.
Right. Right.
So, and then, as I said earlier, then there's a need to backtrack and do the repair work
Mm-hmm.
of if the person is aware enough that that there was some trespasses there. So the work that I do is in supporting people in upgrading their internal operating system. So their response to a situation meets the present need with the intention to have a generative outcome that is in the highest good of all.
Mhm.
So that's, I think that's the distinction. I don't know. Do I answer your question? I think I
Yeah, I
went a
think
little
so.
bit over the map,
That's
but
okay.
hopefully it answered it some.
Yeah. Something that you do, I know you're an artist as well, and I know that behind you there are some beautiful pieces of art as well. And that's one of the things that you do with your couples work is having a couple paint together as a way of renegotiating how they relate. And I kind of was fascinated by that. And I have two questions around it. One, what does that exercise reveal about how two people actually function together? And two, have you done that exercise with leaders in a business as well? Or does that just, is that separate and not something you would do in a business situation? Because I think it would be fascinating.
You're the second person that said that to me. Have you
Really?
done it in a
Ah,
leadership situation? And the answer, I'll answer the second question first. No, I haven't. Although if you consider the couples are leaders,
yes, of course.
right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so taking the title that we think of leader in to expand that definition. But in a professional context, no. And yes, it would be fascinating
Mhm. I mean, I
to
remember
see.
I went to some um, business thing, and I don't even remember the context of it was now. But when the first thing we did was we were put at different tables, and we had some kind of a Lego type thing that we had to put together with no instructions, but we had a group of people that had to do it and figure out how to make it work. And I could see the same thing, similar thing, with the assignment to paint whatever, or to decide in the group, or three people, whatever, two, three, maybe it's just couples, pairs like you would do with your couples work. I think that would be fascinating. So yeah.
Well, I'm thinking like to hark back to an earlier conversation, that Lego situation places all of you in a place of uncertainty.
Hmm.
And then you have to negotiate
Right.
the
Will you
dynamic.
listen to my idea, or do I have to
Right.
listen
There's
to
a
yours? Yeah.
negotiation. There is a who's got this idea. There's a yeah,
Power. There's a
there's a lot
power
of
struggle.
a lot that can be created in a situation like that. I
Mhm.
did that kind of yes. So that's exactly what's required.
Yeah.
That in real life all the time. So the way that I work with couples is yes, so they'll come because they're experiencing, let's say, some some struggles with well, just I'll give you a specific example. I had a couple that came to me recently. They'd been married 30 years and children are out of the nest and one's going to be retiring and they're just like, who are you?
Yeah. Yeah.
They're in that place, right? And how do we maintain intimacy at this stage of the game? We're older, so things are different physically,
Yeah.
things are different motivationally. How do we redefine intimacy here? So we worked, using a coaching framework, but then took all of that into the canvas. And how it works with a canvas when they're working with me, because I'm always looking at the physical and I'm always listening to the intention. So, for example, they may say, like, we want to play with intimacy on the canvas. I'm like, great, have at it. You choose the colors, you choose the paintbrush, go at it. And so they might start like playing with each other with their paintbrush and being very playful. But at some moment, she'll be down here on the canvas and he'll be up there. And there's like parallel work happening
Oh, interesting.
and they're not interacting with each
Yeah.
other. The moment I notice that, I'm like, okay, time out. Let's double click on what just happened. You went in with the intention to be intimate and playful, at what moment did you reach a surge capacity for playfulness and enjoyment that you needed to do the separation? Because as you do one thing, you do everything, right? So
Oh
it's
gosh. Yeah.
right. So this is, I'm using in real time
Yeah.
how they're interacting with each other with this vehicle
Mm-hmm.
of canvas and paint to double click on behaviors, ways of interacting, dynamics, patterns that they're looking to change, which in a blah, blah, blah conversation don't always come to the surface.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So I'm just going to tie this in. Your third framework step, grow together, is in what you were just describing to me was they're coexisting or they're separating to perhaps just be more independent than they may have been and wanting to do that, or they've been doing that all along and haven't come together. And there's a perfect example to show them that what was working or not working in that situation.
Right. What we're always working towards is interdependence, right?
Yeah.
So being able to have both the separation and the
Yes.
togetherness, right?
Yes.
And so that is the balance of that. And the growing, so in the middle between the growing down, which is in,
Yes.
essential work, and growing together, which is that third framework that you shared,
Mhm.
which is about really developing long-term stability, right? Creating a relationship that can hold both individuals and the partnership. There's in between that session is like the growing up part.
Yes.
We think of growing up like, I'm going to put on my big person panties on now, and
Yeah.
right. But growing up is an essential step and stage where the growing down work that you've done to regulate your nervous system and your emotional mindset, aka your act of personal and energetic responsibility, gets to be tested in real time, and you can still stay true to yourself under pressure. Holding yourself with integrity, holding your values with integrity when it matters most. When you would, maybe your old self might have just basically burned down somebody else's village in the past, or like run away to the next village, right? Whatever the response might have been. And that work is about how do you stay true to yourself, true to your values, true to the integrity of the relationship when it matters most, upholding, and I speak to this in the book, the integrity of what I would like to refer to as the sacred third. So when I look at relationships, I don't look at them as a two-person thing,
Okay.
not just me and not just you. Because what that does is that it actually, when we're in a fight, it's me against you.
Mm-hmm.
And that creates that really difficult dynamic.
For sure.
So I introduce this new orientation that I like to call the sacred third, which is the relationship itself.
Ah.
The canvas, when I'm working with couples, holds the energy of the sacred third, meaning I sometimes look at it like a bank account. It's a joint bank account that you either put deposits into or take withdrawals from.
Mm-hmm.
And so the intention is when you're with each other, the question always becomes what is in the best interest of us, of the relationship, not what is in the best intention, the best interest of me, or what is in the best interest of you. Because it may or may not consider either of those. Because what's in the best interest of the relationship is what is going to help you grow together.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So um, I think a lot of people at certain levels of business invest heavily in their professional skills and very little in their relational ones. So if someone's listening right now and recognizing that gap, where do they start? And how can they find you if they if you resonated with them and they want help with that gap.
Understood. Yeah. So, like, business coaching is amazing and wonderful and so useful, right? Because it's about taking the outside actions. If they're recognizing that relationships are, because business is relationship,
Yes, of course.
just AKA relationship, but
Absolutely.
like everything is relational.
Hmm.
Uh, and what I have found is that oftentimes those that are really skilled in business
Hmm.
try to use those very same skills that brought them to a place of success in their business, in their relationships, and it backfires.
Hmm.
Because, in fact, it is the opposite set of skills that you need to develop a relationship.
Yeah.
And that requires both inner work and outer work.
Hmm.
So
Beautiful.
so that's something that you're looking to develop. Absolutely. You can reach me. Is that what you're looking for?
Yes,
Like
I'll put it in the show notes, but yeah,
yeah.
go ahead.
JoelleLydon.com.
Okay. And your
Um,
book is on there as well.
my book, you can find my book, a link to get to my book there as well. Lots of blog posts that can be really serve and support. I put one out a month. So as I said, this month has been boundaries. So if you're looking to get information on boundaries, go to the blog post and then go to LinkedIn for all the little ancillary bits and pieces.
Awesome.
So, and of course, if you're looking to have a one-on-one complimentary conversation with me, you can just go to thediscoverysession.com and that'll send you to a link and you can fill in a questionnaire. And if it really looks like what you have, what I can help with, then I'll reach out to you and we can arrange a call.
Perfect.
Complimentary 60-minute call.
That's awesome. So last question. I know that I was fascinated when I first talked to you. You've lived all over the world, 3 continents. You speak multiple languages. You taught me about I don't know the name of it in your language now, the 2 dots on top.
The umlaut, the tréma,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
double dots over my E.
Yeah. What did you call it in French? Was it French?
Tréma.
Spell it. TREM.
EMA.
Right, the trima. I can't say it as beautifully as you. And you came to this work through your own very personal journey. So, how has all that shaped the way you see connection and the way you coach it? Because for me, I'm all about connection and building relationships. And so that must have. Did you know you wanted to work in this field? No. Okay. All right. So how did?
It was a complete surprise. So I think like the long and the short of it is healing generational trauma
Okay.
for me.
Okay.
And so the vehicle for me is the relationships that will trigger us the most, which is our beloveds.
Yes.
Whether that is our romantic partner, whether that is our family, our children, our neighbor.
Yeah.
But ultimately, my why under all of this is healing generational trauma.
Makes sense. And so you were on a mission or a search for your own peace of mind and
Correct.
stability and
Which,
yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.
Wonderful. That's beautiful. And would you say that, I mean, I imagine it's always a work in progress, but are you satisfied with where you are now?
Yes. So my relationship with my family of origin was very strained. I was sent over to this country, when I was 16. They lived in France, so it was very convenient to have an ocean between us. And so that made it that for many years, I went through like different amounts of years where we wouldn't communicate. But at the end of their life, I picked up the phone and started calling every Sunday. And then when their health declined quickly, I started going to France, having built that relationship with them again on my terms through those phone calls. And then at the end of their life, supporting them moving into a medicalized facility. Then my father died and my mother followed suit suit 10 months later. But before both of them left, I made my peace with both of them.
That's important.
And so for me, the answer is absolutely yes. And it's crucial that we do that, especially now, because the way that we react and respond to others really hinges on the way that we do the healing work, our own personal healing work around our family of origin.
Thanks for sharing that. That was really special. So for anyone who wants to go further with Joëlle's work, her book, Unbreakable Us, is available now, and you can find her at joellelydon.com. It'll all be in the show notes. Thank you for being here today. This is exactly the kind of conversation that reminds me why relationships are the real foundation of everything that we build, and they're so important. So thank you. And to my audience, please, if you like what you heard, do let us know. And remember to stay connected and be remembered. If today's show inspired you to make a new connection, why not start with me? Head over to LinkedIn and connect with me. Be sure to let me know you are a podcast listener, because I select one listener each month who connects with me on LinkedIn for a complimentary profile audit. Don't forget to stay connected and be remembered.